Hi everybody, my name is Melissa from stampwithmelissa.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in the United States, in the great state of Minnesota. And I wanted to say thank you so much for coming to World Card Making Day. It's such a fun day and you are sure to see a lot of fun presentations and techniques throughout the day. Today I'm going to show you on this video how to make a shaker card for Halloween, which I can't really show you very well when it's standing up, but here, I promise, it's a shaker card. Anyway, you'll see it when I turn the camera down, but I wanted to share that with you, and I've got a few other tips and tricks along the way, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is the shaker card, and look, I promise that it shakes. It's much easier to see this way. And this is a super fun card. I wanted to show how to make one for Halloween because that is the next big holiday that's coming up. However, you can totally customize this for a different holiday or birthday or thank you or just because, whatever you want to do. So this is the card I'm going to show you how to make today. It's super fun. Like I mentioned, I'm going to show you some other techniques too, including the embossed, oh my gosh, I can't speak, the Emboss Resist technique. So super fun. Let's go ahead and get started. So today I'm going to use the Welcoming Woods stamp set and the Banner Year stamp set. Now, you can use whatever you have on hand, okay? You don't need to use the same things I do. I just wanted to make a card using these two sets, so that is what I'm using. So in Welcoming Woods, we're going to use the tree image, and in Banner Year, we're going to use the Boo sentiment, the Happy Haunting sentiment, and the bat image. So super cute. And and we're also going to use the spider web because it's so cute. All right, so let's go ahead and make our project. So to start off, I have this piece of basic white cardstock that measures 3.5 inches by 4 inches, and this is what's going to be our background here. Now you notice that it doesn't look white in the final card, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I'm going to bring in a messy piece of scrap paper. I hope you don't mind, but I like to use my grid paper until the very last second, so that's what I've got today. And then I'm going to bring in a few things. So I've got my tree stamp, and I've got my black embossing powder, my Versamark, a spoon to put the embossing powder onto the card, and I also have my embossing buddy. So I'm going to start by swiping my embossing buddy around on this basic white piece. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad and ink up this tree image. And then I'm going to stamp it down. Now, at first, you're not going to be able to see anything because the Versamark is just kind of sticky. And I'm using the grid paper here so that I don't get any of it on my workspace because I am going to stamp off the edge a little bit. Now, I will say that the top and the bottom won't be seen entirely, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But you can hear that that was so sticky when it came off. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black embossing powder, and this comes in a pack of our basics embossing powder, which I believe is white, black, and one more color that I can't think of at the current moment. And you can see I'm kind of running low on black, but we'll use what we have. And I'm going to just put some of this embossing powder onto my cardstock. Now, if you've never heat embossed before, it's so fun, and I promise it's not as scary as it looks. Now, it took me a couple of years to get into heat embossing, and as soon as I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have been missing out all of these years because it's so much fun. All right, so I've got that embossed here. Now I'm going to grab my heat tool and I'm going to heat it up, and I am going to do that off camera, so I will be right back. All right, so this piece is all heat embossed, which you can tell because it's shiny. And I will add, you don't have to heat emboss. Now, whatever you want to do for the background behind your shaker card, like seriously, the limit does not exist. You can do so many different things. So do whatever you want with it, but I really liked the look of the embossing because I am going to use my Pumpkin Pie ink pad and my Blackberry Bliss ink pad to blend in a background so it kind of looks like a Halloween night. So I'm going to start with Pumpkin Pie. And this is really what I wanted my grid paper for. And I'm going to just swirl my blending brush around in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some color onto our piece. Now, the cool thing is that this is actually called the Emboss Resist technique because the embossing powder is like fighting away the ink. So that's pretty cool. You can see it more so when you use like white embossing powders, that it looks really cool with it, and it just doesn't it doesn't turn it orange or whatever color you're using, which is pretty neat. And then when you're done with this, you could also use a tissue to wipe off, wipe on top of the embossing powder, and that helps to make the color pop even more. Now with black, it's a little bit different because black is such a dark color already, so it doesn't really matter all too much. But you know, you could give it a shot. If you're doing a background with some white embossing, you could give it a shot and see how much more it really makes that image pop. All right, so now I'm going to add some Blackberry Bliss. Whoops. I bent up my cardstock a little bit when I was doing that, so you'll want to be careful. Again, I'm not too concerned because that part won't be shown on the card. So this is just a really fun way to add a cool background. Now before I'm done, I want these two colors to kind of talk a little bit more, so I'm just going to lightly, without adding any more ink to my brush, I'm going to lightly just kind of go over it just to help them blend, and then I'm even going to bring my pumpkin pie one back in, and I'm going to do the same thing. And that way they kind of talk to each other a little bit more, and you don't get those harsh lines. All right, so I'm going to move those out of the way. And then we're going to go ahead and do the rest of our card. So I am going to leave this in for a second, and I'm going to bring in this piece of pumpkin pie. This piece measures 3 and, oh, what is that? 1, 2, 3. 3 3/8 by 4 1/8. So it's just slightly bigger than our background piece. And I wanted to add some of that spiderweb background here just to make it a little bit more subtle. I thought it was kind of cool. So I'm going to grab my spiderweb, and this is a technique I have for you, which is tone-on-tone stamping. Now this makes it really subtle, you know, it doesn't make the background stand out too much, and what's nice about it is that all of Stampin' Up's colors coordinate, right? So I am using pumpkin pie ink on pumpkin pie cardstock, but you can still see the spider web. So I think that's pretty neat. And again, this spider web is from that Banner Year stamp set. So we're just going to finish adding maybe one more right there, adding a couple around, and then we're going to go ahead and do our shaker part. So I will get rid of our ugly grid paper, and we're going to do the shaker part. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to bring in a window sheet. Now this window sheet, sorry if it blinds you with my light, it's just a little bit smaller than that pumpkin pie piece. So I am going to bring in my seal adhesive, and I'm going to add some seal to the top and to the bottom. And this is what's going to hold the window sheet in place. So I'm going to pick it up here, and I'm being careful not to get my fingerprints in the middle where it's going to be seen. And I'm just going to lay it on top here and press it into that seal. Again, my fingerprints won't be seen down here, so it's not a big deal. And then what I am going to do is I'm going to bring in some foam adhesive strips. Now I highly recommend using the foam adhesive strips because not only are they bigger or thicker than our dimensionals, but they also are a whole strip. So you can make sure that you cover the whole length of your shaker window, which is important because you don't want any of your shaker elements to sneak out of the inside of the card, right? You don't want them to fall out. So you want to make sure it's enclosed all the way around. And while you certainly can do that with dimensionals, I find it a lot easier to use the foam adhesive strips to do this. I will say too that these foam adhesive strips do, I mean, they are kind of thick. So at least for the US, you know, you want to be careful on how thick you make your cards so that they stay mailable. So the card I'm making today is mailable, but if you add any more dimension to it, it might not be. So you just want to be conscious of that as well. All right, so I'm just trimming up this last one here, which will fit nicely into that little cubby, and then I'll stick my strip right on there and I can reuse it another time. And I did want to mention too, so here is a cool thing that you can do with shaker cards is you can make the window anything you want. Now I chose to do a circle because it was nice and easy, but you could do a square, you could do any sort of die cut or punch. Super cool. You could even use like the Arctic Bear bundle. You could take that polar bear die and you could cut that out. That would be super cool. So I did go ahead and cut a circle out though using our layering circles die set, and I used the largest circle to do that. And I just thought it looked really cool. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back in, and I do have a little speck. So you want to make sure that your piece is clean because we're pretty soon not going to be able to access it anymore. All right, so then I'm bringing in our subtle shimmer sequins. This is what's going to make up the shaker element. You could also use like our shaker shapes, especially for a Halloween card. You could use the stars, or you could cut out pieces from like a designer series paper. The possibilities are endless on what you could use on the inside. So just, be creative. Think of something fun that you can do. So I'm going to gather all of my shaker sequins in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and peel off my backing of my foam adhesive strips. And now that I've got the backings off, I'm going to slide this down a little bit so I can get my head right over it. And I'm just going to line up this piece over the top of our background, and I'm going to press down, make sure that all of those adhesive strips stick. And look at how cool that is. Such a fun technique. So super, super fun. And sometimes, they'll stick on the thing, so I will just like hit them a couple of times to get them not to stick. So let's go ahead and put together the rest of our card. And so I've got a basic black card base, and then I've got a basic black layer here that I embossed with the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to go ahead and put some seal on the back of this, and then we'll get it centered onto our card front. And then we will get this folded here, and we'll grab the bone folder to burnish, just like so. And then we're going to add on this piece. So I am actually going to flip it over, and I'm going to apply adhesive directly on the back. Now I'm being gentle. I don't want to push down too hard because I don't want it to poke through. You could also put adhesive right on your basic black layer. Just make sure you don't go beyond where this will be. And look, I found a shimmer sequin. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this on our card front, and I'm going to make sure that the top and the sides, the margins on the top and the sides, are about equal. So there is our cute little piece. And before we decorate the rest of the outside, I'm going to go ahead and do the inside. So I've got a piece of basic white here for the inside. Now this is important because our card base is basic black. So we want to make sure that our recipient can actually read our message. So I am adding a piece of basic white to the inside. So I'm going to stamp this happy haunting sentiment down. I love that. How cool is that? Especially with the trees and the bat on the front. It just, I don't know, it makes it ooky spooky. So I love that. And then I'm going to bring in my black ink, and I'm going to stamp some of the bats. And I'm going to go ahead and just stamp 3 on the bottom here. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the inside. Okay, that's on the inside, so now we just have to finish decorating the outside. So I have got some scrap pieces here of basic white. One is for the sentiment and one is for a bat. So I'm going to bring in my basic black again and our bat image. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down, and then I will fussy cut it out in just a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my pumpkin pie ink again. And then the cute little sentiment that says boo. And we're going to go ahead and just stamp that right down onto our strip there, and I'll cut that out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out and speed it up, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here is the bat and the boo, and like I said before, you want to be careful to make sure things stay mailable. So I am just going to use seal to adhere these onto our card front because I would probably normally use dimensionals, but I am going to mail these cards, and so I want to make sure that they will mail with no problem. All right, so there is that cute card. I'll bring in the first one as well. So super fun and such a great and fun card to receive in the mail, don't you think? Anybody would love a shaker card, I promise you that. I've sent out many shaker cards and they are all well received. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the other presentations throughout the day. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. All right, see you later. Bye for now.